the cameras flashed, the crowd froze.
Hmm.
And just like that, Hollywood had a new obsession. Two former lovers, a bitter public war. And the one moment caught on camera that rewrote the entire script, the Olivia Wilde and Jason Sudeikis reunion nobody saw coming.
Oh, it really is the story everyone is talking about right now.
It really is. Welcome to Starscope Report. Join us as we uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals. From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
It is so, so good to be unpacking this one today. And, well, before we really get into the timeline of these two, I actually want you, the listener, to just pause and visualize something for a second.
Okay, I'm ready.
So think about a time in your life when you had to collaborate closely with someone you had a massive, just incredibly painful falling out with.
Oh, that is the worst feeling.
It really is. Like maybe it was a toxic ex-partner or a former best friend who betrayed your trust, or, I don't know, a business partner where the split got really ugly. Think about the pure emotional stakes involved in simply walking into the same room as them.
No, yeah, the spike in your heart rate, the tension in your jaw.
Exactly. Keep that specific, heavy feeling in mind as we talk today, because that is the exact emotional tightrope Olivia and Jason have been walking.
Yeah.
But they are doing it on the world stage with literally millions of people watching.
That context just changes everything. And today's deep dive pulls from a massive stack of sources to make sense of this whole situation. We are looking at celebrity trackers like Variety, ET, and Esha finds, but, we are pairing those with deep psychological breakdowns from the Parenting Patch and even film festival Q&A sessions from Awards Watch.
Yeah, we're really looking at this from all angles.
Right. Our mission here is to unpack the timeline of Olivia Wilde and Jason Sudeikis from their rom-com beginnings to an absolute courtroom thriller and decode the psychology of their highly surprising new chapter.
Let's get into it.
So let's jump right into the headline that basically short-circuited the internet this week. Olivia and Jason were just spotted in Los Angeles, hugging and laughing.
Which is wild on its own.
Yeah, but this happened precisely as the global news cycle exploded with the revelation that Olivia's ex, Harry Styles, is now engaged to Zoë Kravitz.
I mean, the sheer visual contrast of those two overlapping events is just staggering. You have this massive, high-wattage media circus happening over in Europe.
Oh, definitely.
Harry and Zoe, who, have been dating since 2025, just got engaged after being spotted all over Rome and London. The tabloids are losing their absolute minds over it.
Right, it's a global frenzy.
Yeah. And juxtaposed right against that, you have Olivia and Jason in L.A. doing a completely mundane drop-off at a playground and then grabbing a relaxed lunch together at the Lyric Hyperion Theater and Cafe with their 9-year-old daughter, Daisy.
And if you study the visuals from this sighting, it tells a really profound story about where they are mentally right now. Olivia is looking effortlessly off-duty. She's in these baggy, light-wash ripped jeans, mustard sneakers, a burgundy cap that says New York, and this navy blue T-shirt with a yellow graphic that says, "Reach out and touch someone."
Which is a cheeky nod to an old AT&T ad campaign, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. But, the most striking detail to me, she is practically barefaced.
Wow, yeah.
When you're in the middle of a brutal public battle, every paparazzi photo feels like armor. You dress to project strength and defiance. So the baggy jeans and the lack of makeup, it signals a complete de-escalation. She's no longer dressing for a war.
Yeah, it makes total sense.
Meanwhile, Jason is leaning fully into this, cool dad at the farmer's market aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
He's wearing a blue Peanuts-themed hoodie, brown cargo shorts, and an off-white baseball cap.
It is literally the uniform of everyday domestic peace. And we should absolutely note where they both are personally right now to understand why this matters. Jason is reportedly single, having had brief romances with Keely Hazel and Elsie Hewitt in the past.
Okay.
And Olivia is currently dating investor Casper Jopling. They recently went public at a W Magazine New York Fashion Week party. So they are living very separate, distinct romantic lives.
Right. They have completely moved on romantically.
Exactly. But seeing them in this domestic, peaceful setting together is surreal because it violates everything our tabloid-conditioned brains expect to see.
That is exactly the point. We are so used to the narrative that a bitter celebrity split just remains a bitter, permanent feud. When you look at their timeline meeting in 2011 at a Saturday Night Live finale party, having 2 kids, Otis and Daisy, and then splitting in 2020, we sort of expect them to stay in their respective corners forever.
Yeah, that's what we usually see.
Watching the internet react to this recent hug is fascinating. It's like watching a dramatic TV show finale where two mortal enemies who have been trying to destroy each other for 5 seasons suddenly show up sharing a pizza on a park bench. It completely breaks the established narrative.
It really does. We rarely, if ever, get to see the de-escalation phase of a celebrity conflict played out in public. Like, the media thrives on the conflict, not the resolution. So a simple, warm hug in a parking lot feels almost radical.
But to understand why this simple hug is actually a massive Hollywood miracle, you really have to remember how dark the situation actually got. Wait till you hear what it actually took to get to this point, because this was definitely not a standard breakup.
No, it got incredibly dark.
Mm.
While they officially dissolved their relationship at the beginning of the pandemic in 2020, which, by the way, Olivia has firmly clarified was long before she ever met Harry Styles, the split eventually turned nuclear over custody.
We have to talk about April 2022. The CinemaCon ambush. This is the moment that turned this from a standard celebrity breakup into a legitimate psychological thriller.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That was brutal.
So Olivia is on stage in Las Vegas at CinemaCon. She is standing in front of thousands of industry peers, studio executives, and press, presenting her upcoming directorial film, Don't Worry, Darling.
Right, a huge career moment for her.
Huge. And right in the middle of her speech, a process server walks directly up to the stage and hands her a manila envelope marked personal and confidential.
Just unbelievable.
That's her custody papers.
The reaction to that moment was unprecedented. It wasn't just shocking, it felt deeply invasive. Like, in an interview with E.T., Olivia later called the moment vicious.
Vicious is the right word.
Yeah, she described it as an attack in her workplace, stating it was done in the most aggressive manner possible. She pointed out that it wasn't just disrespectful to her personally, but it sabotaged the work of all the people and the studio she was there to represent.
Exactly.
It was designed to maximize humiliation.
And I really have to push back on the narrative that Jason's camp put out afterward. His representatives claimed he had no prior knowledge of how or where she would be served, saying it was, solely up to the process service company.
Right, that he would never condone her being served in such an inappropriate manner.
But think about the sheer logistical nightmare of what this process server pulled off. This was 2022. CinemaCon wasn't just a public convention center where anyone could wander in off the street. Serving these papers required immense, calculated forethought.
That is a crucial piece of context. This was a heavily guarded, exclusive industry event.
Right.
It wasn't just a sidewalk in New York.
Exactly. You needed multiple security badges. You needed special COVID test wristbands obtained days in advance just to gain access to the room. It's like a meticulously planned casino heist from an Ocean's 11 movie.
It really is.
You don't just stumble past layers of security and onto a stage at CinemaCon. It required clearance, timing, and pinpoint precision. It's incredibly hard to look at that level of execution and just shrug and say, oops, the delivery guy got a little overzealous.
Yeah, that level of access is bought and planned.
Right. And the fallout from that moment set the tone for a truly brutal legal war.
That ambush triggered an incredibly bitter custody battle across state and international lines. They were fighting fundamentally over where Otis and Daisy would live and be raised.
And they had very different ideas about that.
Totally. Jason wanted to raise the kids in Brooklyn, New York, which was his base. Olivia wanted them based in Los Angeles and potentially London, which was where Harry Styles resided at the time, but also where she frequently worked. And the financial and emotional toll of this fight was just staggering.
In the court filings, Olivia accused Jason's team of acting with sheer malice, explicitly claiming they were trying to litigate her into debt.
Wow.
She argued that Jason's wealth was vastly superior to hers, and that his legal team was intentionally dragging out the process, filing unnecessary motions just to drain her financial resources. It was an exhausting, expensive battle of attrition that played out for everyone to see.
It sounds so draining.
And beyond the grueling legal mechanics, Olivia also called out a massive societal double standard that she was facing during this time.
The public shaming aspect of this story is vital to understand. She spoke to Variety about how over those 2 years, her family was going through a profound restructuring that should have been entirely private. But instead, she faced immense, highly gendered judgment. She noted that when paparazzi caught her out without her kids, the immediate public and media reaction was, how dare she? Where are her children? But she correctly observed that fathers rarely, if ever, get that treatment.
It's the classic infuriating, oh, look, dad is babysitting today trope. If a father is simply seen walking down the street with his kid, he's treated like a hero for showing up. But a mother working on location or having a dinner out is treated like she abandoned her family.
It's incredibly frustrating.
But eventually, the fever broke. In September 2023, they finally settled the case. The agreement mandated that Jason pay $27,500 per month in child support, and they established a formal co-parenting routine with both of them living and basing the kids in LA.
And as we analyze this shift, what stands out to me is the profound empathy we have to hold for the absolute victims of this kind of public war. And I mean the children.
Absolutely.
Otis is now around 11 or 12, depending on the source's exact timeline, and Daisy is 9. Olivia herself made a heartbreaking point. She chose to walk into the spotlight by becoming an actress and a director, but her kids didn't ask for any of this.
No, they didn't.
Imagine being a child and knowing that the absolute worst, most toxic moments of your parents' relationship are permanent public record. It is deeply painful when children are dragged into an adult conflict of this magnitude.
If you're loving these Hollywood twists, make sure you're subscribed. We've got even crazier stories ahead. Because the ultimate question is, how do you go from a brutal courtroom war, where you are accusing each other of financial ruin, to friendly co-parenting at a cafe?
It seems impossible.
Right. The actual science behind it might surprise you, because it's not about forgiveness.
It really is a fascinating psychological pivot. Let's look closely at the data from the parenting patch, because it completely reframes how we think about divorce. The research clearly shows that functional co-parenting is not a competition. It's a highly structured collaboration.
A structured collaboration. Okay.
Yeah. Bren M. Chase, who is a licensed marriage and family therapist, points out that reaching this level of functional co-parenting requires a massive, almost unnatural level of maturity. You essentially have to take your bruised ego and your very valid personal grievances, put them in a box, and lock it away.
But how do you actually execute that? Like, setting aside your ego sounds great on a motivational bumper sticker, but how do you do it when your ex literally ambushed you with legal papers in front of your entire industry?
Right. It's so hard.
That requires an enormous amount of emotional labor.
It does. The research identifies 4 core dimensions of a functional co-parenting relationship. Let's unpack them really quickly. First, how much parents support versus undermine each other in their daily interactions. Second, how they negotiate differences in child-rearing values, rules, discipline, education.
The day-to-day stuff.
Exactly. Third, the actual division of parental responsibilities and labor. And fourth, and this is the absolute most critical one, how they manage conflict in front of their children.
That fourth point is where the breakthrough happens. Because the researchers found that a child's rates of anxiety and depression are tied directly to how well their parents handle conflict together, not how much the parents actually like each other.
That distinction is just mind-blowing.
Isn't it? You don't have to be best friends. You don't even have to privately forgive the person. You just have to manage the display of your relationship. You have to be functional partners in the business of raising a human being. It's almost like a professional acting job for the sake of the kids.
Exactly. It's a practice skill, not a spontaneous feeling.
Yeah.
And what we are seeing with Jason and Olivia right now, with these public hugs and shared lunches, is the execution of the non-negotiables.
Right.
They are maintaining a unified front. They aren't speaking negatively about each other in front of Otis and Daisy, and they're showing up for milestones together. That LA playground hug isn't a sign of rekindled romance. It is them actively demonstrating to their kids that their security and stability are vastly more important than the adult's messy history.
They are protecting their children from their own fallout.
Precisely.
And that's not even the wildest part. Stay tuned and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next, because we are about to talk about the shocking twist nobody saw coming with Olivia's new film.
Oh, this is fascinating.
It ties directly into the psychological shift. Olivia isn't just processing this trauma in private therapy, she is funneling the intense anxiety of the last few years directly into her art.
It is a brilliant way to reclaim the narrative. Let's talk about her new project, The Invite. It was a massive critical hit at Sundance, and it's officially releasing in theaters in June 2026 via A24.
I can't wait for it.
Yeah, she directed it, and she also stars in it alongside a powerhouse cast. We're talking Seth Rogen, Edward Norton, and Penelope Cruz. It's a tense, claustrophobic, 4-person marriage story set entirely in San Francisco.
The behind-the-scenes details on the production of this movie are incredible. It's essentially a single-location thriller about a dinner party that goes horribly, catastrophically wrong.
My favorite kind of movie.
Right. It's an adaptation of a Spanish film, but Olivia and the cast spent weeks aggressively workshopping the script. They were arguing over gender politics, marital dynamics, and really infusing their own personal DNA into the characters.
Yeah, and there is this one hilarious but incredibly intense anecdote about Penelope Cruz that tells you everything you need to know about the vibe on set.
Oh, please share.
So Penelope felt deeply passionate about including a serious, raw conversation about perimenopause in the film. She brings all this feral physical intensity to the scene, and while they are shooting, she squeezes an olive in her hand so hard that it literally explodes right into Olivia's eye.
Wait, really? An olive?
An olive. It exploded into her eye. And Olivia, staying completely in character, just had to keep acting through the stinging pain.
Oh, wow. That is dedication. I love that detail because it perfectly illustrates the sheer visceral, unpredictable energy of the set.
Yeah.
They described their acting dynamic as a jazz quartet. They were improvising, screaming over each other, and finding this chaotic but natural rhythm. Seth Rogen and Olivia apparently discovered this unique ability to harmonize while viciously screaming in each other's faces. But what's truly compelling is what Olivia revealed about her own character's mindset. She said she dug into her own raw, deep anxiety for the role. She explicitly described her character's situation as her true idea of hell being ambushed by a social situation.
Ambushed by a social situation. I mean, it's impossible not to connect those dots. Getting handed an envelope by a stranger on a stage in front of thousands of people absolutely qualifies as the ultimate social ambush. She took the most powerless, humiliating moment of her public life and turned it into a controlled, artistic environment where she is the director. She is calling the shots on the ambush now.
The psychological reclamation there is brilliant, but it gets even funnier when you consider how her real-life kids interacted with this process. Olivia mentioned in an interview with E! News that Otis and Daisy are her absolute toughest critics.
Oh, kids always are.
Always. And because she was editing this intense R-rated psychological thriller at home, her kids ended up seeing way too much of the invite.
Oh, no.
Imagine being a 9-year-old and watching your mom piece together this screaming, high-stakes adult drama about ruined marriages right in your living room just because you're curious about what she was working on.
It's amazing. But I really want to look at the ending of the invite and how it serves as a sort of thesis statement for her life right now. Obviously, we won't spoil the exact plot mechanics, but Olivia deliberately chose to leave the ending completely ambiguous.
Okay, interesting.
She fought hard to keep it that way, noting that a major studio probably would have forced a clean, happy, neatly tied up resolution. And that ambiguity perfectly mirrors her real life. The core message she wanted to convey with the film is about taking radical responsibility for your own happiness.
Wow, yeah.
You have to eventually realize that you cannot blame your misery on your partner forever. You either set yourself free from the resentment, or you make a conscious agreement to start something entirely new.
And that brings us to the profound philosophy that was guiding this entire production. During the making of the film, the cast actually consulted with Esther Perel, the renowned psychotherapist and relationship expert.
Yes.
They would literally pause their intense rehearsals, get Esther on the phone, and ask her to settle their debates about complex relationship dynamics and resentment.
That is next-level dedication to the psychology of the script. To literally call in one of the world's leading experts on human connection to make sure your screaming matches are psychologically accurate.
It really is. And it perfectly sets up the final thought I want to leave you with today, which is drawn directly from Esther Perel's advice. Perel suggests that it is entirely possible to build a completely new relationship with the exact same person, but only once the romantic ego is completely removed.
Think about the depth of that. The ego, the part of you that feels rejected, the part that wants to win the argument, the part that demands an apology, has to die.
It has to go.
Right. You aren't re-reviving the old marriage. That marriage is dead and you have to mourn it. Instead, you are building a brand new, highly functional partnership based on a shared goal. In this case, the business of raising healthy children.
That is a powerful framework. So we challenge you, the listener, to think about your own life. Is there a burned bridge, a fractured relationship with a colleague, a family member, or an ex that could theoretically be rebuilt? Not to recreate what it was, because that's impossible, but as a brand new functional partnership where the ego is permanently left at the door.
It completely reframes what we are seeing when we look at those paparazzi photos of Jason and Olivia. That simple hug in Los Angeles isn't a fairy tale ending. It's the hard-earned, ego-free beginning of something entirely different.
You've been listening to Star Scoop Report, where your hosts uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.